I'm Russ W. Oker, and I'm here today with Dr. Matt Thompson, president of Indian Hills Community College, and we're going to be discussing the bond issue that's coming up with the vote on November 2nd. And before we get into some of the projects that are involved with this, Dr. Thompson, talk to me about the impact that Indian Hills has on its 10-county region.
Yeah, Russ, thank you very much. We appreciate having the opportunity to sit down and talk about a really important process that we've gone through, kicking off April 26th when we made the announcement about the November 2nd vote. It's been really important for us to get out and communicate with our public and really to make sure that people have accurate information about the bond referendum. The impact of Indian Hills Community College, going back the over 50 years that we have existed in Southeast Iowa is tremendous. If you look at just some of the information that we have shared, about 86% of our students that graduate from Indian Hills stay in the 10-county region where they live, work, pay taxes. We have seen multiple generations of students that have now come through Indian Hills as well. And I think that's a very impressive statistic. Annually, $235 million is brought back into the region through tax dollars related to Indian Hills Community College in the presence that we have here with our training processes, with the students that take classes here, in overall budget as well. $235 million each year is brought back into the region. If you look at some of the high impact work that we do in the area schools, we trained over 2,200 students last year that were in high school, taking many credit hours that saved their families a lot of money. $5.3 million was saved last year by Indian Hills Community College, helping families receive early college credit hours. That would be about $9.4 million if a student were to take those same credit hours at a Regents University. So tremendous impact. The training, the workforce right now, everybody needs employees. And that's part of what we're trying to do is bring more people here to train them. We know they stay here once they're graduating and try to help with the workforce solution that everybody has right now. Truck drivers, healthcare workers, educators. There's a huge need across the 10-county region. And we want to make sure that we're a very attractive place for students to come receive an education.
Talk to me about the education building in Centerville.
Yeah, the facilities that we have in Centerville, many people don't know this, but in 1971, those buildings were built, 13 modular-based facilities. They were supposed to be there for 10 years. A couple of our retirees have shared that with me that 10 years and we'll build one permanent structure. We're 50 years later, and while the buildings have been well taken care of, they were built never to be there that long. And so we would have one facility that would allow us to increase the educational opportunities really in the western portion of our 10-county region. So we would be adding a welding technology program at that facility, a CDL program, expanding our healthcare programming, bringing on the second year of nursing, really having a lab presence that helps students have success, gives them the tools and the opportunity to really have a quality education in the healthcare fields. Our construction technology program has just skyrocketed in enrollment. We went from having 9, 10, 11 students 5 years ago now to having 34 students in the program. There would be additional space available for them to do a lot of the pre-work before they go and work on a home. And then the ag programs, we've expanded the ag program at the Centerville campus, and honestly it's just continued to grow and get bigger and stronger, and we see a lot more of that in the future as well. The facility also has space for the general education classes. With technology advancements, some of these buildings built 50 years ago really are not equipped to have the technologies that we have now in the classroom. And then one of the things that we have a pretty big gap with now, because of our growth and enrollment on that campus, there's really not a lot of space for students to have general food service. The barn stays. That's just kind of an iconic place on the Centerville campus. It would be converted into some after hours space for students to go and hang out, have recreation. But we would move food service into the new facility. We'd have a student success center, a place for students to go to the library, and really just a place for students to gather as well. And that's something that is missing on the Centerville campus right now.
On the Atumpo campus, I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, the Center for Fine Arts.
Yeah, the Center for Fine Arts, it's amazing to me if you think about Indian Hills athletics and just how dominant and how high quality of athletics we have. Many people have enjoyed the arts here at Indian Hills for many years. Going back to Sister St. John Auditorium, and Atumpo Heights, we had such strong fine arts at the time of Atumpo Heights, and then as we moved onto this campus, we just continue that tradition. Our faculty are tremendous. They provide just a high quality experience that you might see if you went to Des Moines to a show. Really having a facility that matches the quality of what we put on the stage is really important to us. 1961 is when that building was built, and outside of St. John Auditorium, we haven't made updates to the other classrooms and spaces around it. We are proposing to add 4,200 square feet of additional practice space for the fine arts. And then really important to me is upgrading the facilities around the auditorium. 3,500 people a year come to the arts performances, and we don't have a handicap accessible restroom right now in that space. So part of it would be, creating additional space, but also retrofitting the existing space to really be a modern accommodation of 2021 handicap accessible restrooms.
And the Student Wellness Center. Talk to me about that.
Students really are looking at, it's a very competitive environment in higher education. Where do I want to go to college? And, I've always hoped that they're looking at the programs that you offer and the savings that you provide them and their families. But a lot of times students are also looking for, what am I going to do outside of the classroom? And student wellness has come up many times with our existing student population. There's not a lot of places for us to be able to go and work out or play intramural activities, because our facilities that we currently have are pretty much full from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night with a lot of our student athletic programs. The student wellness facility would be an addition to the existing Tom Arnold Net Center, would provide us just that, a place for students to go and work out, have wellness classes, physical education classes, and then that facility also would house our sports medicine program that is new to Indian Hills and is growing rapidly. So that project, I think, is really important for the future of the college as far as how we attract more students, because we know if we attract them, they stay here, they work here, they pay taxes here.
The Criminal Justice Training Center will be out on the North Campus. Talk to me about that facility.
Yeah, really excited about the Criminal Justice Training Center and what it does to help us support law enforcement. We know that if you watch TV, there's a lot of challenge right now with law enforcement, and we've chosen to really support law enforcement. And in the past year, we've created some trainings that have really enabled us to reach 400 law enforcement from southern Iowa, across the state of Iowa, and in some of the surrounding states as well. That training right now is actually being done on the St. John's Auditorium because we don't have the space and room to be able to provide that training elsewhere. The Criminal Justice Training Center will not only help serve existing law enforcement, but it'll be home to our criminal justice program. That's been a long-standing program that's produced police chiefs that are across our 10-county region, county sheriffs and sheriff's deputies, and has been a real asset to public safety overall. We would be moving to the North Campus, renovating a space with the long-term goal of becoming a regional law enforcement academy. We were just named a reserve officer training location, so all of that training will take place at the North Campus when that project's complete. But we really feel like we have an opportunity to support law enforcement and continue to offer a lot of great training for our existing students as well.
Something else that may be as exciting as any of this, because you do cover a 10-county region, is the virtual campus. So talk to me about that.
I've been and talked to a lot of different groups, and the one project that I think everyone sees as a need and a way to support the future is through the virtual classrooms. There has been a lot of work that's been done by the college over the years with our area school districts. We have tremendous partners, 19 school districts that have students that are taking classes with us. we do know that further away from a college campus you're located as a school district, the number of students that are trained decreases. So the pandemic really taught us that we can have lecture courses offered at any time, anywhere. So why not go to our 19 school districts and have a virtual presence where students can go into a space, they can log in, and they can be live in one of our classrooms on any of our college campuses. Online education has expanded our reach since the early 2000s, but that is not live. That's, you're in a course, you have to be really disciplined, and it's a different learning environment. The lecture-based virtual classrooms really provide students the ability to interact with faculty, to ask questions, and to be a part of a classroom while being remote. And so we believe that we'll continue to be able to expand and save families even more money by having the virtual classrooms in place in the future.
Talk to me about the cost of this. Obviously, taxpayers are going to go to the polls on November 2nd, and they're going to make a decision. We've done a great job of providing information so they can make an informed decision, but for a lot of people, obviously cost is important. Yep. So I know that Indian Hills has worked diligently to try to secure as many funds as they can to take as much burden as they can off the taxpayers. Where do we sit right now, and what will this mean to the taxpayers?
Yeah, so back in April when we announced this, I had kind of an internal goal of raising $6.5 million. And at this point, we're actually at $8 million, and that's raised and saved. We've gone out and really tried to work with some of our corporate partners, applied for a lot of different grants, and really tried to bring the total cost of the projects is just over $36 million. We've tried to bring as much funding to the table to decrease the cost to the taxpayer. So the bond vote on November 2nd, we are asking the public for $28 million. Now, when you look at our region, 10 counties, and you just do some simple math, 10 counties, $28 million, it's about $2.8 million per county. And I think it's important to be able to communicate with the public about the fact that, we do have very large geographic stretch, and that's why it really reduces the cost overall to taxpayers. We've got brochures that would certainly want to share with individuals. Anybody that sees this that has questions, we're really clear about the cost in this brochure. As an example, a $50,000 property, you're looking at $5.76 a year for that increase. On a $150,000 home, you're looking at $17.28 a year. One thing that I will share with you, it's been since 1983 that we've passed a bond referendum. And I think it's important to let people know that when we did that, that helped with the purchase of the Ottumwa main campus. And I think about how Dr. Hellier's vision to do that was so essential for where we're at now. And I look at some of the projects that we have on the ballot. Those are the same types of projects. The Centerville campus and having a brand new facility that will serve many, many generations of Southeast Iowans for years to come is significant. The projects that we have here that help us attract and retain students in our area are certainly important. So if you think about it, for a dollar or two a month, to be able to support that is incredibly important for the future of Indian Hills. We want to be very clear that we have information that people can consume and understand and ask questions, but in the end, we are looking at this investment for many generations of Southeast Iowans in the future.
So as we get set to go to the polls on November 2nd, what would you want people to know or be thinking about as they go in to make their decision?
I think that's a great question, Russ. I want to make sure that people are really well aware of all the projects that we have, but I also want people to think about the impact Indian Hills has on our region, from the nurse that takes care of grandma or grandpa when they go to the hospital, to the future educator that's taking classes at Indian Hills that will be retained and stay here in our 10-county region as a teacher in the future. I think a little bit about the diesel mechanic who comes and picks up my tractor from Sinclair Tractor, who's a graduate of Indian Hills Community College. The auto mechanic that takes care of your vehicles so you can get to work and on vacation or wherever you want to, whatever you do. I just think about the fact that Indian Hills has some part of that. The law enforcement that keeps us safe here. Many of our folks that have graduated from the criminal justice program are currently police chiefs or sheriff's deputies here in the region. So just that impact that we have on a daily basis that sometimes we may even take for granted. And then I want people to think a little bit about the future as well. Where will your kids go to college? How can you save money on your students' education while they're in high school? We have an impact on that. And for us to be able to continue to do that, it's important for us to get to the polls on November 2nd, make informed decisions that really help the college for many years to come.
Dr. Thompson, thank you for sitting down today.
Russ, thank you for everything. Want to make sure that we have a lot of good information out to our public, and we certainly appreciate people taking time to view this, and just remember to get out and vote November 2nd. Thank you.